Hey everyone, it's Maddie here from DCLblogger.com, and I'm going to be doing another Gods Unchained analysis video. This is number 3 in the last about a month and a half, maybe even a couple of months. I've done about 3 analysis videos. This is going to be my third on the state of the market, some of the cards, how high they've gone since launch, and some information, more macroeconomics of the Gods Unchained marketplace. So just like last time, we're going to go through a few different points. I'm going to go through how a bunch of different cards in different rarities are doing at different dates, and the chests, how they're doing, how the promos are doing, the ROI since start. I've charted them as well, so I'm going to go through that. We're going to go through some really good investments. I'm going to go through the difference between why I have chosen specific investments and how they're doing so far. So rare chests and legendary chests and the difference between. I'm going to be going through this really cool part of the website of gudex.com, which goes through the card rankings. And I think this is a really good indicator of some of the cards and what you can expect in terms of their price increase. And we're going to go through some of the volume that Gods Unchained is doing. You can see it's kind of dropped off. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be covering. So let's start with the financial part of things. Let's see how cards have increased their value. So just like last time, what I had was 3rd December and 10th of December, and I had pretty much charted these 3 data points or data sets, and we could see how they've increased from the launch price to the week after, or a week and a half after, to a week after that. So I wanted to chart every week the price. It's not going to be a weekly thing. You can see from 10th and 12th of 10th and 22nd of December, there's a 12-day difference, but there's 22nd and 27th December. Pretty much I snapshot it around a 10-day mark, and I kind of chart that snapshot. Okay, then I chart the ROI. So let's kind of see how we've done. Card value growth. So this is just the every week charting of each card. Okay, so I basically picked about 5 or 6 top legendaries, about 10 or so top epics, 5 top rares. I'm not going to chart every single card. It's going to take me way too long because this is a very manual process. And a common, and the promos and the legendary and rare chests, which are really interesting. So you can just see that a lot of them, they started off the first from launch to the week after, they kind of had a big boom. And I think there's a lot of people that were selling cheap at the start because no one really knew the value of cards. You could get really good deals, and averaged out, it was better to buy cards when it first launched. A month and a half ago when the marketplace first launched. And then there was a spike, but over the next few weeks or so after that, or that month period, price has been pretty stagnant, and you can see in the last week, it's kind of dropped off to a lot of these. Actually, we gotta ignore the 30-day average. That is completely irrelevant. It's kind of averaging out all of these, or the last 30 days. So, it kind of looks like everything's overpriced. But if you can just see, for me, pretty much every single one of the cards has stagnated over the last month or so. I haven't really seen much of a price increase, and you can see that from the graph. There has been a couple of outliers. There's Tiet, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. That, I don't really want to count that as one, because literally 60 or 70 of the most recent sales has come from the same wallet. So if you look at this right here, that kind of depicts, it tells you how much percentage of the decks that are currently being used has these cards. So I've kind of ordered this in the most popular cards that are being used in decks, and you can see Avatar of Deception is number 1 at the moment. If you look at Tiet, it is like almost where it is, pretty much last. It's like 15th or 20th down the line, right? So it's used in 2.3% of decks. So I don't really want to say that it's demand that's pushing up this card. It's literally just 1 or 2 people that are pumping the price, not really based on anything. Maybe they think it's going to go somewhere in the future, but you don't want 1 or 2 people owning all those cards, because just like they decided to buy them, they could decide to dump them. So from an investor perspective, it's not really ideal. Chests have been very interesting to me. They're one of, I kind of picked rare chests as the most stable investment. I think it's going to be continuously going up. You're going to see a couple of assets or a couple of chests or promo cards or even the Genesis cards that will shoot up and then come back down and stabilize, maybe have these kind of a thing going on, like a zigzaggy, maybe an upward trend eventually. But I feel like rare chests are going to continuously go up. They may have a bit of a stagnancy, but they're going to continuously go up because there's actually not that many of them. They're also a very low price entry for an investor. They're only about 0.3 Ethereum. So with a couple of Ethereum, you can buy about 6 or 7. So the low entry investor, entry investment point. Although legendary chests compared to rare chests are actually better value. If you look at the data, then one rare chest currently is selling at 0.32. So you can see this is obviously charted pretty much every 7 to 10 days. Rare chests, when they launched, they were selling for about 0.09. The week after 0.12, then 0.19, then 0.22. Now they're sitting at 0.32. Very, very interesting. In fact, we've had about 30 or 40 sales in the last 24 or so hours. The ROI has been really good. I like the stability of the growth, and that is very interesting to me, as opposed to legendary chests, which started at 0.8, went to 1.2, 1.4, it's kind of dropped back down to 1, and then 1.22, and doesn't really have much volume at the moment. And for me, volume is the most important thing, right? There's two things in my NFT trading career, and I've been trading NFTs for the last 2 years. Gods Unchained is actually the second one. The first one was Decentraland, which I still trade very, very frequently. Good thing about Decentraland is people sell them for about a few $100s, all the way up to tens of thousands of dollars. So if you can flip even like 5 or 10 good deals per year, you can actually make a lot of money. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. But what I wanted to show you guys is why I feel volume is the most important thing, right? There's two different things that I look for, and that's volume and scarcity. Okay, scarcity, no matter what the asset is, the scarcer it is, the more value it's going to have, and that's Gods Unchained is a very good example of that. There's a very limited amount of promo cards, as you know. There's only about 60 lights bidding, and it's selling for 15 Ethereum, although no one really uses it index as far as I know. Blessed Chimera is another one. There's 600 of them, and they're about 2.5 Ethereum. So the more rare a card or an item is, generally speaking, the more it's going to be priced. So if you're starting with rare chests, have about 11,000 or so of them in circulation, which is a pretty big number if you compare them to Genesis, if you compare them to promo cards and other assets. But the good thing is that it's a cheap entry price point. It's 0.2 to 0.3. So for an investor, there's going to be a lot of people that can afford to invest in this, as opposed to Genesis legendary chests. If you look at the volume with these guys, 1, 1, 1, 1. It is somewhat consistent, but compared to rare chests where you're going to have 2, 14, 14 purchases there, 5, 1, 1, 6, 1, 2. Every now and then you're going to have like 5 or 10, right? Lots of 1s, 2, 1, 4. But for me, something that is consistently selling on a volume basis, and you can verify that something's very constant in its sales, it's inevitably going to go higher and higher, especially if it's an in-demand thing like rare chests, where it's kind of a novelty to kind of own them, because 2 years down the track, that's where it's going to hold its value, right? So that's why for me, rare chests have been the most interesting investment. Also, you can see the chart for OpenSea. You can kind of just see that it's steadily increasing, right? And this is so much better than a chart like legendary chests, which have their spikes and they go down and then up and down. You don't really know where the hell they're going. But yeah, rare chests are continuously going up. So I really like that about them. So let's look at the ROI chart. Not much to say, not much of a difference. So you can see some outliers. Again, Tayet is kind of got the biggest ROI at the moment. It started at 0.1 Ethereum maybe. Now it's sitting at 0.4, but again, it's more like an artificial pump. I'm not really going to invest in that myself at all. The ones that I am interested at this point, I should really buy them before I publish this video, but I already have a lot of investment in Gods Unchained. So for me, the strategy is more just waiting. But this website is really interesting because it tells you how popular these legendary cards are specifically, and you can obviously change this to common, rare, epic. But if you just look at the legendary, it tells you that these cards are the most used in decks, right? So for me, trying to pick up these for about 0.12 to 0.15 Ethereum, even 0.1, ideally you want to get them at 0.1 to 0.12. I feel like they're eventually going to go higher and higher because they're just being used in more decks, right? People are finding more utility in them. So for me, actually a couple of days ago, these would have been much better purchases. I think Osiris was about 0.1, so it looks like someone's caught onto this and bought a bunch of them. But I'm kind of using this more to indicate where the direction of these cards are going to go. A lot of them are doing really well. Legendaries are selling for 0.1 to all the way up to 0.4. Even epics are doing really, really well. 0.06, 0.05, we all know Demogorgon is 0.18, which is killing it. It's like triple the amount of any of the ones before that. 0.08, that one's kind of come out of the blue. So even epics are increasing in value. So it is an interesting thing to watch. I also have my eyes on diamond cards. All right, I don't really care what diamond it is, whether epic, legendary, rare, or even common. But for me, what I like to see is I go to sold listings and I see the last 24 hours worth of sales, and you can just see that people are buying up diamond cards. So there is volume for them. And I actually went ahead and at the start, literally within the first few days, I picked up every diamond common that was sold at 0.1 Ethereum or below, every rare diamond that was sold at 0.25 and below. So right now you can see a lot of these diamond commons are selling for 0.15 to 0.2, so I'm pretty happy about that. The rare, let's see how much this sold for, 0.82, geez, it's pretty high. I've had some rare diamonds sell for 0.6, even one that sold for 1.75. It was a dragon. It was the what do you call it, the mountain dragon card, right? It sold for 1.75 and it's a rare diamond. So it's really interesting to see how these sell. People like to keep diamonds, I guess, of their favorite cards. You can see this one's just sold 5 hours ago for 27 Ethereum, 14.3 Ethereum for this one. So I think some people like to have, if they use them specifically in some decks, they like to keep a diamond version of them. So that's something I keep an eye on. And yeah, I also have this notifier, which I have mentioned in the previous video. It basically pings me every time there's a sale made over 1 Ethereum. It gives me an indication as to which cards are kind of selling frequently. Also have one that tells me same information but for legendaries only. So any legendaries that are being bought up, I can kind of see that in this tool. It's pretty cool. I'll be putting this, how you can get this in the links in the YouTube video. That's about it, guys. Nothing much else. You can see the volume is kind of decreased for Gods Unchained, which is, like I said in the previous video, it's predictable. That's what's supposed to happen once you have the marketplace hype. It's supposed to die down, and after a couple of months of an NFT project launches its marketplace, the hype dies down, and it's really up to the project developers to build consistent growth, and the assets that will grow in value from now onwards will do so from the utility of the project, right? So Decentraland land, for a very long time, people bought and sold land for crazy prices. But for the last 2 years, but over the last 6 months or so, people have been actually building some really, really cool things, which is why the lands continue to sell, right? So you can see this one over here. There's all kinds of, this guy's built like a spaceship, and you can build stuff on your land and kind of explore them. And now this builder is becoming more and more complex, right? So people are actually building really cool things, and that's what's giving it utility. This guy's built like a Neo City. It's pretty cool. So now for Gods Unchained, it's a similar thing, but they have to keep new people interested in joining and playing. So they have to have tournaments and things like that. That gives demand for the marketplace, or else what's going to happen to the volume is going to pretty much die down to something down there. But you can see Decentraland's kind of kept up for the last 2 years. It's been topping the charts, and I hope the same for Gods Unchained. It has kind of gone down to, I guess, 1/4 or 1/3 of what it was when it launched, but again, that's normal. But from now onwards, I would want this to be in the top 3. If this goes like in the 5th or 6th and below, then I kind of feel like we're going to have issues, especially when cards aren't very expensive to buy. But if no one's buying them, then that's going to be very, very interesting. So that's it, guys. That's a bit of an overview on the Gods Unchained marketplace. If you have any comments and suggestions, please let me know. Please follow me on Twitter or YouTube. I blog and tweet about anything NFT. I like to flip cards or flip anything crypto collectible related and make money in between. That's kind of my thing. I've been doing it for 2 years, and that's why I'm into Gods Unchained and Decentraland. If you know any other project you want me to cover or look at that is doing really good in volume, I really only get involved in projects that have a lot of volume. So anything I'd say on the 400 and above Ethereum range, that's what I'll look at. Things that don't have much volume, they're hard to buy and sell just because there's not enough people to sell when you want them to sell. It's kind of like trying to sell your coins on an exchange when there's like hardly any volume, right? It's just hard to sell, especially if you have a lot of those assets or a lot of those coins. But yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, and I'll see you guys in another video.